I was like, oh shit. Like I never really thought of that like, yeah, I gotta have that wallet ready every day of my life. Even after I'm dead, it's gonna keep paying out and doing shit.
Yeah, to some degree, you and money are in a marriage until the day you die, you know? Welcome to the Artful Dollar. It's me, Ryan, tattooer, financial coach, spiritual seeker, all the things, all the time. I am excited to chat with Forrest from Tattoo Smart. He reached out to me with this idea, which maybe will turn into a blog post, but the idea was to talk about the most common limiting beliefs that tattooers deal with when it comes to money, business, finance, and try to challenge those beliefs or at least shed a new light on them and bring a new perspective to it. Because ultimately, what is a belief other than a perspective? And it's not the truth, right? Just in case anyone was wondering, like, your beliefs are not the truth. My beliefs are not the truth. So anything I have to say here today is not the truth. And it's nice to be able to shift our beliefs, to kind of hold our perspectives loosely, not so rigidly. And that has given me a lot of peace and freedom and success in my life. So I wanted to, I'm just excited to have this conversation. So Forrest has kind of come up with some of the most common limiting beliefs that he has come across in his time getting tattooed, working with Tattoo Smart. Forrest has some of the nicest tattoos on his body from some of the best artists around the world. And so he has a cool perspective on, he's an avid collector and enthusiast. He probably knows more about tattooing than I do, to be honest. And I'm excited to chat. So Forrest, what's up?
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Ryan. Yeah, I appreciate you having on to have this discussion. I feel like you have a similar experience of getting all these perspectives and ideas and all the various mindsets that are in tattooing just through what you do with your work. So that's why I was excited to come together in this discussion, be able to try to surface some of these thoughts and mindsets and perspectives that tend to hold people back. Like that's kind of my goal in coming here is I want to bring value to the tattoo community, really, to explore these ideas around business and with you and your expertise, specifically money and financial planning. And there's a lot of feelings and emotions and beliefs around money that, and I'm sure you've heard them all and worked through a lot of them with people. So what better way than sort of come together and talk about these beliefs and have us start to break them down, do this work.
I don't think there's a person on the planet that has talked to more tattoo artists about money than myself. At this point, I mean, it's probably close to 1,000 tattooers that I have either worked with or had a free session with or just had a conversation with or chatted with over Instagram. So yeah, I've seen it all, and it's fascinating to me. You know, I look at these beliefs, whatever they are, whatever your beliefs are around money. I don't look at them as right or wrong or good or bad. That's not how I look at it. I look at it: is this belief serving me? Is it helping me create the life that I want to create? Is it helping me help others? Is it putting that good energy out into the world, or is it, do I feel right about something, but is ultimately limiting me in my expression in the world? That's kind of how I look at it. And you can do whatever you want. And so just listen to, I hope the listeners or, readers or whoever is just taking this in as just a loose perspective. Don't take it like I'm telling you what you should believe. That's not what I'm saying. So just want to, that disclaimer before we dive in.
Yeah, it's perfect. We're just trying to take a mindful approach here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, should we just like get right into our top 5?
Yeah. So what's top 5? What's top of the list? I guess you'll throw it to me. I'll share my view, and then maybe we can go. I'm curious also your perspective, because these are shared not just by tattooers but people all around. But some of these are a little bit more geared towards tattooing for sure.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I'll just start breaking down these top 5 that we've found to be the most common among these creative professional types. And the number one sort of, I guess, foundation of it all is that the belief or feeling that talking about money or asking for payment makes me feel uncomfortable. And this makes people tend to avoid discussions about money with clients or just in their own life, really. It's just the idea of money and talking about it makes me uncomfortable. So I just avoid it entirely.
Right. Talking about money and like really specific. I mean, the whole thing, but then particularly the conversation of like asking for money, asking for an amount of money for work that I did. bringing up the whole like doubt, imposter syndrome. Like, am I really worth this? And here's something I do want to share too. You could say it's a limiting belief if you nailed down like, well, what I believe that I'm not worth this much or that. But I like to look at these also as a way of being about money. So you have a way, you're a human being, right? You have a way of being when you sit down to tattoo. You might sit down and tattoo, and your way of being is like excited, adventurous, risk-taking, playful, in the zone. Like that's kind of your way of being, right? Now imagine if you had that way of being around money. Things would probably go pretty well, right? Now imagine if you're unsure with money or uncomfortable talking about money, right? Imagine if you took that and you went to go and do a tattoo. That would not work well if that way of being was brought into that realm. So you can identify that at different places of our lives, we have different ways of being. And now when you started tattooing, you may not have felt adventurous and excited. You may have been unsure and skeptical or felt uncomfortable. And so that developed over time. The same thing applies to money and talking about money. So it's good to I always look at with these things, what's the cost and what's the payoff? Because with every belief that you hold dear as your perspective, you can guarantee that there are two things present, that there is a cost, it's costing you something. And this is all beliefs, not just limiting beliefs. All beliefs they're all limitations to some degree. So it's costing you something, and there's a payoff to it. So this is actually something I go through with people in my course on beliefs. And anyone can use this kind of format to look at the belief you currently have or the way of being, as I have WOB. So let's say this is, I am uncomfortable asking for money for work I do, right? Now the impact, and we're not going to go super deep with this, but the impact is that you probably end up undercharging, right? Undercharging. Because if you're uncomfortable doing it, you're gonna lean towards undercharging yourself, right? If you're confident in pricing yourself, you're gonna lean towards charging the right amount, or possibly even overcharging, which is also not good if you're too confident. So there's probably a sweet spot there. So we'll lean towards undercharging. Another impact is your client feels uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how many times I've been at a shop, and I've had clients say this to me. I've heard clients say it to other people. They're like, you get through it and you're like, cool, yeah, that'll be $250. And they're like, really? That's it? Like, your client, believe it or not, kind of feels awkward at that point, because you just did a fucking sick tat, and they were expecting to drop $400 or $500, and then you said $250. So it makes your client feel uncomfortable. If talking about money is just an uncomfortable subject, you're gonna feel stressed. So there's stress that it's costing you, right? Absolutely. And now, what's the payoff of feeling uncomfortable asking for money? You might think, well, there's no payoff to this, but you're getting something from this way of being, from this limiting belief. So you're getting to, let's say, avoid looking bad. Human beings will do just about anything, literally, to avoid looking bad. Like, it's just in our ego identity. It's just a part of that. And so we have this fear of looking greedy or, not thoughtful or something like that. And so to avoid that, I know if I feel uncomfortable about this and I just undercharge in it, then I'm going to avoid looking bad. That's a huge payoff. I mean, people do crazy shit. People lie, cheat, steal, to avoid looking bad. And we all do it, by the way, myself included. Like, no, all human beings, we're weird individuals. Even if you're sitting there and you're thinking like, oh, I don't do that. Well, dive a little bit deeper. You too, Forrest.
Yeah. I feel like I've been just thinking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I dive deep. I like to have the real fucking conversations. Like, what's going on? What's making me tick the way I tick? What caused me to do the things I do? Another payoff, you actually get to avoid responsibility. Because when it comes to dealing with the money stuff, you just might be like, oh, I'm not good at that, or I don't do, that's not my area, right? That's not my thing. Then you get to avoid being responsible for the financial side of things. So this is the impact and this is the payoff, right? There's always a cost. There's always a payoff. So the first thing I do with any, and we don't need to go through this for every one of them, but I did want to show you this process.
Yeah.
The first thing I do is I just get down to like, all right, I feel uncomfortable talking about money. let me just be with that. Let me accept that first. Because if you're resisting money, if you're resisting the conversation, if you feel awkward, you're resisting being awkward, it's a whole tangled mess of emotion. The thing that keeps it stuck is actually resisting being that way. So just acknowledging, like, yeah, I am uncomfortable talking about money. I am uncomfortable asking for this amount of money. And you might even find yourself saying you'll always charge either 250 or 450 for a tattoo, but you'll never charge 700 or 800. You know, that might be outside of your comfort zone. And so often I find tattooers have, like, I remember the first time I charged $1,000 for a tattoo, it was like, that'll be $1,000. Like, it was like hard to get out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So it's like identifying, oh wow, I have a hard time. That tattoo was worth at least $1,000, the time and energy, and it was aligned with my hourly rate, but I was uncomfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And so then I try to look at, like, what's a new way of being or a new belief system that really serves me in this area. And now you identify as this because to some degree it's being thought of in your head on repeat. It's almost like a subconscious mantra. Like, oh, I'm uncomfortable talking about money, or even if you're not saying it out loud, like you somehow you identify with it. There's a subconscious element to it and a conscious element to it. So we need to start to, like, create a new perspective and then practice it by every time we feel uncomfortable, we sort of just tell ourselves, you know what? This is what I'm practicing. This is what I'm taking on. It might not even anchor itself fully. And now you can call this an affirmation or a mantra, but and I don't know what your relationship is to that kind of stuff. People feel all types of ways, but I will say, in my experience, practicing a mantra or affirmation around an area of my life has helped me to shift perspectives in a way where I've been able to charge, thousands of dollars for tattoos very comfortably and have my client feel awesome about it, and really works for everyone. So the perspective or new way of being that I bring to my prices, and I do this with every price for everything, tattooing, coaching, is my prices occur as an opportunity for my clients to invest in themselves. And when I look at my prices as occurring as an opportunity for my clients to invest in themselves, it's not an uncomfortable thing. It's like, oh wow, I charge this price that I'm throwing out isn't a burden on my client. It isn't, greedy or anything. It is simply an opportunity for my client to invest in themselves. Now, that's either investing in a tattoo that makes them feel fucking awesome. They're out in the world. They enjoy the experience of being tattooed. Their identity is, it's like in our soul. We just, like, as human beings, we just like wearing our art on our skin. So it's an opportunity to invest in themselves. Or that's a course you're taking, or working with a mentor, or whatever it is. It's an opportunity to invest in yourself. So that's how I like to look at it. And that's just kind of my framework. Oh, and the last part is, like, what's possible. So if I look at, like, what's possible over here, what's possible is I'm going to undercharge myself for the next 10 years, probably costing me tens, if not over $100,000 of money that I could be or should be earning, but I'm leaning towards undercharging myself. So then I just realized, wow, this belief system, this way of being around money is expensive. I literally pay a bill every year of my life to the tune of $10,000 or whatever you might estimate it costing you on a monthly basis. And I actually do the numbers sometimes. I'm like, okay, well, on average, I probably undercharge $50 a tattoo. And if I do 20 tattoos a week, and it costs you a lot. And so I'm actually paying, that's a bill I pay every month to maintain this perspective around money. And I'm like, well, shit, that doesn't serve me. So that's what's possible, is like missing out on money, missing out on opportunities, missing out on financial security. Okay, that doesn't work for me. What's possible here is, I can feel at ease charging what I'm worth. My client can feel excited about the opportunity to invest in themselves, and we both grow from it. That's what's possible. Two candles lighting, one candle lighting another candle doesn't take flame away from the other candle. They both light up, and that's what is possible in this. So I like bringing perspectives and belief systems where everyone wins. That's my goal.
Absolutely.
So that was a long way to answer that, but here I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we can just have a conversation about the rest of them. But was that helpful for us? Was that
Yeah,
insightful?
totally. I feel like getting to be able to identify that value and shift your mindset. I know you were saying like not everyone might be comfortable with the mantras or affirmations, but I totally agree that it's like that small conscious sort of step helps just to have like these subconscious impacts that really just start shifting your
Yeah,
whole mindset around it, and you're able to actually see the value instead of just focusing on that being uncomfortable. Because I mean, I know I can definitely identify with that. I've always said I'm a terrible negotiator, so I'm not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna like you said, get undercharged.
right. And so if you've always said that, that is your mantra.
Yeah, yeah.
Whenever people have a hard time with mantras or affirmations, I always internally I'm like I laugh because you already have mantras and affirmations.
Oh yeah,
You're already manifesting whatever it is that you've got. You're already manifesting that. And so it's just a matter of like, all right, let me start shifting that mantra, shifting what it is that I'm putting out, the energy I'm putting out in the world, that will always get reflected back to me.
totally. Yeah, it's always easy to focus on the discomfort, but just that little bit of awareness and shifting it. Yeah, I feel like that's huge. That's a good way to get past that first one of just being uncomfortable talking about money. So yeah, I feel like we should go ahead and move on to the next limiting or just
Yeah,
like I said, every belief has some limits in some ways, but
right. Because even that belief has
mhm,
limitations, but like the cost of my prices occur as an opportunity for my clients to invest in themselves. Right. What does that cost me? Well, it costs me the ability to shy away from highly valuing myself. Like I can't
yeah,
be timid about like I'm not allowed to be. It doesn't work. I can't. It's not available to me in that paradigm, and so that's the cost. And I'm okay with that cost.
yeah, definitely getting a little uncomfortable with that. Like I said, every
Yeah,
human has that nature to not want to
right.
feel guilty or look bad. So just pushing that day by day.
Totally.
But yeah, so the next belief that we might want to try to start to shift is I feel like I should focus solely on my art and not worry about the business side of things. I'm an artist. I should focus on my art. I'm not a business person.
Right. Focus on the art. The business stuff is that's not me. That's not my thing. This is definitely a knife's edge for a lot of people to navigate. And if you're just doing what, and this goes for any art, not just tattooing. If you're just doing it as a hobby or a self-expression or just to do it, and it's not being treated as a business, great. There's no need to worry about that. The minute you start charging anything for it, even $1, it's become a business. And there's nothing wrong with it becoming a business. And it doesn't even need to compromise anything to become a business. In fact, sometimes being a business can inspire growth. When I raise my prices, I actually am like, oh shit, I better fucking step my game up. I better get better because I won't allow myself to raise my prices and not serve more value to my clients. So has been that kind of inspirational aspect to it. But the minute you go from hobby to business, if it is a business and you don't treat it as a business, it probably won't do well as a business. So you're doing something, but your belief around the thing you're doing is not aligned with you doing it. So it's really difficult to imagine going to do a tattoo and you're like, oh, I'm not a tattoo artist. You're starting a business, but you're like, I'm not a business person. And so, look, I'm not saying you can't do it. And I'm not saying that maybe there's someone out there that it works for, but if you're honest with yourself, just ask yourself, does it serve me to operate a business and not believe that I should be good at the business side of things or not try to be good at the business side of things? A company I really like, Patagonia. Really like the company Patagonia. They are a really cool company. They are not publicly traded. The employees of the company are owners of the company. Like a really cool business model. Really admire what they do. They're a business, right? And now they have these values, but they also operate as a business. They do need to earn profit to pay the people that work there. And if they're like, yeah, we like making cool bags and clothing and climbing stuff, but like we're not really good at the business side of things, they could never be the amazing company that they are. So it's just about recognizing that balance. And for me on my journey, because I used to also think like, I don't want to deal with the business stuff. I don't want to deal with the money, the taxes, all the stuff. the minute I decided to say, you know what, maybe the business stuff, the tax stuff, the money stuff is a part of my creative process, not separate from it, it got interesting. And the better I got at dealing with money, the more time, the more energy, and the more money I had to focus on my artwork. So that was the interesting shift that happened for me, was I actually got more time to focus on my art out of putting more time into the business side of things.
That's interesting. It sounded like a parallel point to your other one of it. Just be like having that resistance personally, and it being a sticking point is enough to negatively affect you, where the payoff isn't worth the impact anymore.
The juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it wasn't serving me to continue to operate a business and not believe that I can be good at the business side of things.
I feel like this one ties really well into the next one. Like someone might double down and say, well, money is the root of all evil and I shouldn't prioritize making more of it. Maybe I should like just get by with my business. Like money isn't everything. Like I'm an artist. What would you say to that?
Yeah.
Money is the root of all evil.
Yeah, money is the root of all evil. I 100% used to believe this, and it was like, I don't know how long ago it was now. In my early 20s, I was taking a course. I've always participated in personal development, professional development courses, shifting my mindset, my perspective. And I was working with a coach, and he asked me, what does money mean to you? We were having a conversation. I was stressed about money. I was having a breakdown around my finances. He said, what does money mean to you? And I said, well, money is the root of all evil. And I know that I feel like I need more of it to be happy somehow. Like that, those two things were like hold true. And so that's the other thing. If you really are honest with your own beliefs, we all have paradoxical beliefs. You hold beliefs that are contradictions to each other, and that's okay. That's the nature of the human mind. You don't have to be like, oh, I don't want to be a hypocrite or something like that. No, you can actually be both. Not, again, with all these things, not everything is so black and white. So giving yourself some space to be like, okay, I believe some weird contradictory stuff. That's interesting. Does it serve me? Maybe not. And that's what he said. He said to me, he's like, how's that going for you? You know, money being the root of all evil and all that. I said, oh, it's not going well at all. I said, okay, interesting. You know, what would serve you? And, you know, I just looked at like, yeah, like if there's a really good chance that I'm probably going to use money for the rest of my life. Just given where I'm at in my life, given the country I live in, given the circumstances, the socio-economical, political state we find ourselves in this dimension right now, good chance I'm probably going to use money now and every day until the day I die. I'm assuming that, right? So assuming that, I'm kind of married to money, right? Like I'm married till death do us part to money, whether I like it or not. And now I'll often ask people, if you were married to money, how would you describe your relationship? Like I'll say, if you and money were dating, or even better, if you were married, you know, because people are like, I'm not married to money.
Yeah.
But how would you describe it? So at the time, I was married to someone that I believed to be the root of all evil.
Yeah.
And we all know that marriage isn't going to be happy. It's not going to be successful. And so given that I can't get divorced from this marriage, I either have to create a healthier relationship or be miserable for the rest of my life. Those are my options. Believing money is the root of all evil and being tied to needing to use and deal with and interact with money on a daily basis led to suffering, for me at least. If it doesn't for you, great. But for me, it was leading to suffering. And I was like, okay, either suffer for the rest of my life or create some new perspective, some new way to approach money. And so what I created in that moment, and this has been one of my mantras and my affirmations for fucking over almost 15 years probably, is that money, I've changed it around a little bit recently, slight changes to it, but money is a flow of energy. That's what it is. It's just a flow of energy. It flows to me and it flows through me. So to me and away from me, to me and through me. And my only job is to not block the flow. So money is a flow of energy. It flows to me and through me. And my only job is to not block the flow. What blocks the flow? Worrying, doubting, guilting, shaming, judging, all those emotions, you know, that we have around money that don't serve us, that blocks the flow of energy. So for instance, during the COVID shutdown and I had to close my business and I had a 4-month-old baby and rent to pay and the unemployment hadn't kicked in yet. And I was like, oh my God, money is just leaving my life. I just trusted. I was like, all right, this is a big flow of money out of my life right now. I'm not going to block the flow. Money has to get paid. I tried to negotiate with landlords. We got some deals. We didn't get others. So it wasn't like I just said okay, fine, take my money. But the money I did end up having to pay, whether I thought I should or shouldn't or this or that, whether I thought it was fair or not, didn't matter. I was going to pay this money. I'm going to give it with grace. I'm going to give it with openness and acceptance. And therefore, I didn't have to block the flow. And I trusted that would keep the channel open, because if you block the flow out, you're blocking the flow in. And that energy would be returned to me. And I strongly believe it was. I mean, it led to me, that time, COVID shutdown led to me doing financial coaching, which led to me building a larger company and hiring employees. And, so in many ways, the silver lining of that very stressful and seemingly doomsday type scenario, where what good could possibly come from this, something really beautiful came out of it. And I think it's also good to remind ourselves in those moments of fuck, that there very, very well could be a silver lining to this that we just can't see right now. And I won't know what it is or when it is. And it might not show up in a month or 2 or 6 or a year or whatever, but surrendering those expectations and just sort of trusting there is a silver lining and I just don't see it right now. That's a perspective shift. And that can give you peace of mind to take actions that better serve you. Making a decision about money or taking an action around money from a place of purely fear does not serve you. It's not the best decision you can make. So if you can, anything you can do to shift your perspective, reduce the fear, and then take an action from there, it's probably a better solution, a better course of action than what you were going to do out of your fear-based reaction.
Yeah, that's great. It would make sense that having this evil view on money would come from a place of fear and maybe scarcity. And I really like the idea of managing that flow. It sounds like it's like a ebb and flow of energy. Like you said, there's some scary times and you just sort of have to hang tight through it.
It goes up and down. It's not just like this, That's never the way that it is.
So do you have any pointers for finding balance in that flow of energy? The belief itself had mentioned prioritizing making more of it. Is that maybe a shift too far if you're focusing too much on making money? I guess, is there anything you would add to, all right, you're getting away from that evil mindset now, how do I
Yeah. So this is something I'm continuing to learn. I'm still on this journey, my money journey. It never ends.
That's a great point. You said we're married to it. Back to every day, I was oh shit, I never really thought of that I gotta have that wallet ready every day of my life. Even after I'm dead, it's gonna keep paying out and doing shit.
Yeah, to some degree, you and money are in a marriage until the day you die,
Hey, all you artful listeners, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for giving a listen to the podcast. I hope that it's bringing some value to you in your life. That's really why I started this podcast. And if you're getting something useful or valuable out of it, I just want to invite you to go rate and review this podcast. It really helps me out. And it also helps other people find this podcast so that they can get some value out of it. They can feel more free around money and just get some wisdom and some knowledge that we're trying to share on here. So again, I'm not really asking anything else of you other than to just leave a review and rating for this podcast. It really helps me out and helps other people find us. So thanks and enjoy the show.
I mean, this is, to bring in, spiritual practices like practicing unattachment. And what that means or what that looks like is not only when money flows out of my life do I acknowledge it, but practice sort of an unattachment. We're okay, that's what's so. It doesn't mean anything about me. It doesn't mean anything about my value or this. Are there actions to take? Sure. Let's get clear on what we can control, what we can't control, and then take actions from there. Practicing being emotionally unattached, spiritually unattached, identifying, unattaching your identity to that financial experience. The same goes for when you get a windfall of money. And this is a huge lesson for anyone when, and hopefully you will, and you probably will, everyone does to a certain degree, experience, oh wow, I make a lot more money all of a sudden. getting attached to that and that identity will cause more harm than good every time, every single time. And unfortunately, the only way we learn that lesson is by kind of going through it, experiencing it, making mistakes, and then recognizing that there was actually value in those mistakes because we learned something from it. They might be expensive mistakes, but there's value in them that is going to serve you as you go forward. I was talking about this actually with the COO of my company, how we grew really, really fast in an 8-month period, 10x our business in 8 months. And then it dipped a little bit. And we were like, oh, okay. There were things we did with money in like the peak of that didn't work anymore when things started to be volatile. And at first we were like, oh, we just wasted $10,000. It was like, and then we recognized, well, at the time, it maybe made sense at the time we made it. Now in hindsight, it doesn't make sense. And let's recognize that. Let's learn from that. And now what systems can we put in place? What adjustments can we make? What lessons can we learn? And those lessons over the next year of running our business, over the next 1 year, easily will return at least $10,000 worth of value. So I always look at it as like, am I getting the value out of this mistake that the mistake cost me? So if the mistake cost me $10,000, how do I get $10,000 of value out of that mistake and make it totally worth it? Make it worth the investment. And then every year going forward, it could be continue to pay dividends in a way. So I think I answered your question.
Totally. Yeah. Like your example right there, I feel like is a great way of saying like whenever you guys were in that high, like successful flow of energy and followed by that low successful, you had a similar approach where you were like evaluating what you could control, investing where you could, getting like that impact cost. Like I guess you were evaluating each step, which helps to probably level out those flows of energy and things like that. So yeah, I feel like that solidifies a good approach to finances through that flow of energy in the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I feel like we covered talking about money makes me uncomfortable. So say we switch that, now they're comfortable. I should solely focus on my art instead of my business. So we've shifted that, and now we know that that's part of the business, and we're focusing on that. Money isn't the root of all evil, so now we're balancing our energy. However, now we're doing all this with our business, but there's still too many tattooers. There's too much competition. The market's saturated.
Too many chefs in the kitchen. Too many. Yeah. The market is oversaturated. I hear
tattooing is closed. No more tattooers.
Yeah, there's no way to you could try to from a numbers perspective, you could actually try to decide like statistically, is that true from a purely numbers place? But no one's really doing that. They're just going based on feeling, and they're usually doing it on a day when it's slow. But I promise you the tattooers that are busy aren't feeling that, right? So you have to first acknowledge that when you believe that the market is oversaturated, you are probably thinking it from a place where your perspective is shifted by the fact that maybe you're not busy right now. And so you're like, oh, the reason I'm not busy definitely couldn't be because of my marketing, because I am killing it. My marketing game is on point. I know exactly what I'm doing. I have a super effective marketing strategy and it slays, right? That couldn't possibly be it. It's definitely because there's too many tattoo artists. So first just acknowledge like, all right, that might not be the truth, right? That's my perspective. I don't know. I mean, look, you take like dentists, right? There are a lot of dentists. I don't know. Maybe there's a dentist who can tell me if someone wants to email me. Like, are dentists like, there's just too many dentists. There's too many. It's just like, God, I don't know if they do that. If you want to look at the numbers, and I actually looked this up recently, just looking at growth rate of the tattoo industry, specifically tattooing, not like industry as a whole, like conventions and supply companies and stuff like that, but just actual exchanging tattoos for money is almost a $2 billion like average. Like in America, it's about a $2 billion industry, 1.89, something like that currently. And by 2030, it's estimated to go up close to 4 billion. And so it's about going to double in the next 6 years. Which is wild to think, 6-7 years. Then there's a number called the compounded average growth rate, the CAGR, CAGR, that they'll use to identify an industry's growth rate. So you can apply it to the soda industry, the fast food industry, the electric scooter industry, and that would be every company that is in that industry. What's the compounded average growth rate of that company year over year? And a good growth rate of a good, healthy industry is about 8% CAGR. Tattooing is just under 10. So they're a little bit higher than what a good, healthy growth rate is for an industry. And what that tells me is that there's not too many tattooers. It tells me that the reason there's more tattooers is simply because the industry is growing. And if the industry wasn't growing at a healthy rate, then if the compounded average growth rate was 5% or 2%, then you'd say, okay, actually there are too many tattooers because the average growth rate of the industry is low and we're seeing all these people coming in, but given that it's a healthy rate of growth. So I like to zoom out. I like to always zoom out and take a bigger perspective on it and get some facts. So that helps me shift my perspective on it. The other thing from a non-numbers standpoint is, you want to talk about cost and payoff. Well, the payoff of believing that there's just too many tattoo artists and the market is oversaturated is that you don't have to be responsible for growing your business. You get to blame it on this excuse, and then you get to be right about it. And I know some people are going to hear me and they're going to be like, Ryan, how could you say that? But I'm sharing this as just what I believe to be a useful perspective for you. So you don't have to take what I believe and adopt it. Don't think Ryan's judging you or blaming you or anything like that. But as human beings, and again, I'm putting myself in this category of human beings, we naturally want to kind of avoid responsibility and blame other things. We say, oh, this part of my life sucks or is painful or isn't working the way I want it to. That must be to blame for it, or that must be to blame for it, or that must be it. We don't like to look within ourselves and say, well, how could I be 100% responsible for this outcome? And that's a practice that I do regularly whenever I run into an obstacle in my life, an area that isn't working or isn't working as well as I'd like it to, whether that's in the realm of business, art, relationships, whatever. And I take a look at, if I was 100% responsible for the outcome that I want to see, how would that shift my perspective and how would that change my actions in this area? So certainly it would, if I was taking 100% responsibility, meaning I couldn't blame anything for the results that I'm producing, I would probably look at my marketing. I'd probably look at the conversations I have. How am I selling my tattoos, or am I like hiding behind a screen, not really sharing myself with the world, not creating a brand, not creating an identity that lures in people that are hungry to not just get the artwork that I have to offer on their bodies, but just be a part of the brand. I mean, everyone kind of has a brand these days. It's just a part of it. And you could really just say your brand is your vibe or your expression of who you are. Your personality kind of becomes your brand, right? And I love getting tattooed by tattooers that are just like fucking awesome people to hang out with and have these great conversations. And like, that's a part of it. And sometimes I've been by tattooers that's not what they like to do. And that's not my favorite situation. I talk to my clients. It's just what I like to do. Not saying you have to, but you might attract clients that they just want to sit there and be quiet and y'all two can silently make awesome tattoos. If that works for you, fuck yeah, awesome. And just thinking about like, what are the things I can be responsible for? So that's how I address the oversaturation perspective.
Yeah, totally. I mean, looking at the factors that you can control. Obviously, if you're putting serious thought and planning into, hey, this is my business, I'm going to examine the opportunities and threats. Obviously, competition is going to be part of that. But again, you're looking at the actual factors that you can have an impact with, like your marketing and actually strategizing, looking big picture instead of maybe just looking at the shop that moved in down the street and posting about slow season on your story or something like that. Like,
if a new shop moves in down the street, that's a good sign. That means there's more business to be had. That means more people are aware of tattoos. That means people that are going to see that are also going to maybe come by here and check out what we're doing. And maybe they're price shopping or they're just looking around for more artists. I'm in New York. All the tattoo shops in Lower Manhattan, they're all clustered on top of each other because people know to go to that area to get tattooed. And you want to open up a tattoo shop around there. So it's a good sign. It's not a bad sign.
Yeah, I feel like that healthy growth is key. You can't just see growth and think it's like bad as competition. It's going to limit you. It's a healthy sustaining of the industry. So we're healthy. So I feel like that's something to be happy and positive about, that we're able to, we can support and work together and lift up the industry as a whole instead of having that scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, okay. So we're not going to blame other tattooers anymore. We're just going to focus on our business and what we can control.
We're fully transformed beings.
Yeah,
Free,
yeah, exactly.
unlimited. Yeah. From here on
However,
out, all the time,
yeah,
forever.
I'm golden. I've got
You're glowing, Forrest. You're just
yeah,
radiating money. Money is literally raining down on you after you shift your perspective. It's awesome.
yeah, exactly. But I do have one more thought that might be holding me back. It's that whenever an opportunity walks through the door, no matter what it is, if I like it or not, I'm gonna accept it, even if it's underpaid. They have a low budget. I just have to make ends meet and pay the bills. So what comes through the door is what I got to do.
Yeah, again, it's another one where it's not always so black and white. And I am a very gut oriented decision maker, choice maker, chooser. Like that's what steers me in life. So there was absolutely a point in my career where it didn't matter what it was. It didn't really matter that much the budget. It was probably a great decision for me to take that tattoo because I was learning and I was growing. I was in a growth phase. The growth of doing the tattoo was more valuable to me than the money I missed out on by, undercharging or something like that. Absolutely. There's you can almost look at your tattoo career in different seasons, right? And that's kind of the beginning season. You're just like, cool, $50, great. Like a pack of cigarettes and Chinese food. I've definitely done tattoos for that. That was the price in the beginning. And then it's really important to check in and recognize, am I still in that season? Is that still what serves me? And you can slowly pull back on that, and having clear boundaries is really great, because here's the deal. Once you start setting those boundaries and saying, oh, I only do this style, or I only charge, 200 minimum or 300 minimum, or I only do, 1 hour minimum at an hourly rate, whatever it is that your boundary is, the first time you do it, it's going to feel super uncomfortable. The second time you do it, it's a little bit easier. The third time, you're like, all right, I got this. And then all of a sudden, like, that's your new price. That's your new policy, right? You practice it a couple times. And then, on a metaphysical level, like the universe sort of rearranges itself to support you in doing that. If you get known as the person that does anything for any amount of money all the time, then the universe is going to deliver more of that to you. And so there's something so powerful in defining and saying, you know what? This is not what I do. I do this. And again, I look at, okay, let's say a tattoo comes in. It's in a style that I don't want to do. I primarily do like black work, fine line, black work tattoos. I don't really do floral work. I did at one point, and it was fine and it was fun, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as others. And there were other people that seemed to be killing the black work floral stuff. So it was like, maybe I could just stop doing this. And actually what I did is I didn't completely stop doing it, but I charged a little more for it because I wasn't enjoying it as much. And then eventually I did completely stop. And there were a couple people that were either didn't like the price, it didn't work for them, or eventually I just said, yeah, I don't do this. And so I lost some money in that moment, in that instance, right? Let's say I lost $500. So again, I like to look at it. I paid $500 to set a clear boundary that over the next probably 2 months will net me more money, because now I'm focusing on something more specific that I really like doing, which is going to cause me to do better work because I enjoy it more, which is going to attract more people that want to do that thing with me for the price that I charge it for. So all of a sudden, the 2 or 3 instances where I lost money in the beginning became an investment of energy, right? In, out, through me, and to me. Then there was a return on that investment over the next couple months. It's just, a lot of people don't really look at it that way. They just look at it, I lost money. I always look at, anytime I lose money or make a mistake with money, I always look at it, it's an investment. Let me get clear on what the return is. What's the lesson I'm learning? What is going to come back to me by doing it this way? And I mean, every time I either raise my prices, or like when I stopped doing color tattoos, when I stopped doing floral tattoos, it returned back. And every time I was like, I should have done that sooner. I should have done that sooner. I really could, I waited so long to like make those changes, and I would have gotten a lot farther, a lot quicker had I done it sooner. And so if you're on the fence about those things, probably means there's a change that needs to be made. And if you lose money from it, just know that you're actually not losing anything. You're actually investing in the new structure, the new boundaries that are going to produce more profit, more revenue, more energy flowing into and through your life.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it goes back to where we started with that like new belief structure, and like that cost of potentially looking bad is like enough to hold you back for probably way too long, like way past when you're ready to maybe make an uncomfortable step up. Yeah, I feel like taking those actions, it's very helpful to get these small conscious, like shifting your ideas consciously so that you can get that practice and start feeling more comfortable and making these changes. Like you said, you realized it way later that you probably could have done it a long time ago.
Yeah. Whenever you do it is when you do it. And you got to take a leap. There's just a little bit of a rip the Band-Aid off and just do it and really just trust. Like, it's going to be okay. Another thing I think about is like people are like worried about raising their prices. They're like, well, I don't want to lose clients. So like if you raise your prices by 10% and you lose 10% of your clients, then you end up working less but making the same amount of money, right? But then soon enough, you won't have lost clients because you'll replace them with newer ones and better ones and clients that value you more. And so then all of a sudden you're working back to the same you were, but you're making 10% more. And then you're doing that consistently. So like give it 2 months. I've never lost money by raising my prices. And I don't know anyone that has. Like I haven't encountered. If you have, I'd love to hear about it if that's happened to someone. But I don't know anyone that has raised their prices. Chances are you were already undervaluing yourself, undercharging, right? So a good thing to look at is if your work has gotten better by any significant degree, measurable, like clearly a year later, like your work's probably better. I found the longer I tattoo, like the difference between 1 year and the next year wasn't like as big, but you'd see it. So maybe take a little longer, but like the difference, especially early on. So if your work got significantly better in the last year, like noticeably better, but you're charging the same thing, then either one of two things is true. Either you were overcharging then, or you're undercharging now. That's it. That's really how you can look at it. Plus, factor in inflation, you're definitely undercharging. So anyone that's thinking about raising their prices, just ask yourself that question. Has my work gotten significantly better than the last time I raised my prices? If so, was I overcharging then? No. So I'm probably undercharging now. Okay, I'm going to raise my prices.
Yeah, totally. I feel like that's the case more often than not, that like you're mentioning these stages of the career, like the price doesn't always seem to keep up as people work their way through it. So it's something to constantly reevaluate. Is again, back to that like value you're bringing to the client, the two flames. Like I love that idea that your value is able to create something for them and you're getting some return on your skills and value that you're providing. Like, so always just be aware of that and don't be afraid to re-examine where you are, like your skills, and shift those views to a new belief that actually focuses on, like you said, these skills that you're developing and able to level up as a business. And listen to these non-limiting beliefs just flowing out. Just takes a little shift.
Just takes a little shift. And at the end, if you don't take anything from this episode, this conversation, if all you take from it is that you're going to start to be a little bit more self-aware internally of the conversations that are at play, that are giving you your experience of life, giving you the actions you take, you would have gotten so much value out of this conversation if that's all you took away from it. So that's the note I'd leave you on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I didn't know if you wanted to like emphasize like your framework you had before, any other frameworks, ideas, because you're already like helping a lot of people work through these, through your course, through your community, through all of your work. So is there any like, I guess like framework you want to leave them with, or any sort of thing?
What you resist persists. So if you can look and find something that you're resisting, right? If you're resisting an idea of money that is evil and gross and icky, or you're resisting wealth because you think wealth means something gross or greedy or whatever, right? That resistance, you're resisting an idea of it that is perpetuating that idea of it. So you're actually perpetuating money being evil. You're perpetuating wealth being gross because you're resisting that idea of it. So totally. First, starting to just embrace that and recognize it, and then say, okay, well, First, let me let money be evil, right? Instead of resisting it being evil, let me let it be evil for at least a minute. Let it be the way it is for me right now. That process right there is the first step for me in creating a new perspective, is identifying the limiting belief or the perspective I already have, acknowledging it, giving it permission to be as it is, because trying to force it to change is just more resistance. So that doesn't work either. Letting it be as it is. All right, yeah, interesting. I believe money's the root of all evil. It's fascinating. Whoa, what's the impact of my life? Wow, cool, interesting. Explore it, get curious, get playful with it, and then say, okay, well, what would be possible if I could create whatever belief around this area that I want to believe, and then start to get playful and loose. And the last thing I want, the beliefs I have today, I do not want to have all the same beliefs I have today next year. I might not even want to have them tomorrow. I'm always, and I think people get really attached to their belief system. I am so unattached. I'm really always looking for, how can I be wrong? Where is my metric for looking out at reality not serving me? Where is it wrong? Where can I own? All right, that doesn't serve me. That doesn't work for me or anyone. And where can I adopt a new perspective? So that's it.
That's awesome. It's a great way to end it. I feel like that's, if they don't identify with any of these limiting beliefs, what you just said is the perfect way for them to identify what they're resisting and what might persist in their life. And if you need more help on it, then hit up Ryan Roy and he'll get you shifting that perspective real quick.
Anytime.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, I just want to prompt that if you got some value out of this conversation, please go and leave us a rating and a review on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you saw this podcast. It really helps me out, and it really helps other people to find this podcast. I want more people to have these types of conversations around money so that we can all be more free and at ease and abundant and able to create the lives that we really want to live. So please share this and rate and review. Appreciate it. Thanks.